welcome to 3 Ways to Create Multimedia Domination with the Multiplicity-preneur Factor, Part 1. I am the Chief Multiplicity-preneur Pioneer, AliNICOLE. Wow, she does it all. And I am joined by the Multiplicity Moundbuilder, Joseph L. Jones Jr. A little bit about us. We are the creators of the Multiplicity Monument Empires and also the Multiplicity Marketplace Media Tours. And you'll be able to learn more about that work in the description below. But today we want to share with you a few foundational aspects to achieving multimedia domination, leveraging multiplicity-preneurship. So Joseph, thank you for being here. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Well, great. I want to jump right into sharing, these concepts. Of course, you and I, we've been doing series and trainings on a variety of different levels as it relates to the multiplicity entrepreneurship. And so this is just another one of those conversational trainings to elevate those who are familiar with the concept, but then also to lay more of a foundation for those who are new. So want to jump into talking about these 3 ways to start creating multimedia domination. So I'm jump right into number 1, and I'll have you, of course, have some commentary about this, and we'll have some dialogue. So number 1 is about creating a multi-dimensional branding and empire expression with your media presence. So this is all about showcasing, if you will, your brand and empire with a multi-level platform demonstration. And Joseph and I have talked a lot about this in various trainings. So what this sort of looks like is, in addition to your main website, I always recommend that others start setting up at least 3 to 5 platforms. And I recommend doing this on Tumblr. There are other platforms certainly that you can leverage, but Tumblr seems to be the most effective in terms of this way that you can showcase and leverage different aspects of your branding and empire. So you want to be able to do that because, like I mentioned, this particular platform, it will allow you to feature certain aspects of your brand or highlight a particular offer or service. And you want to be able to start categorizing yourself, in this way. Another thing that's recommended, and Joseph actually mentioned this in a previous training, is being able to leverage your multi-level communication factor as you are on different social media platforms, which is something I teach in the categorization, is that you want to have a core focus or core expression of your brand and expertise on a specific platform. So not just the Tumblrs that I've recommended, but like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. So you want to have this multi-level communication factor across the board on these different platforms. So on Twitter, you would be communicating a certain way. On Facebook and LinkedIn, like I said, you're articulating another core element of your brand expression and in your empire expression. So you want to demonstrate diversification so that you can do exactly what we teach, is multiply, maximize, and monetize your multiplicity-preneur experience for the higher revenue advantage. And so actually on that note, I'm going to actually start talking about that, because the second aspect is about setting up your brand and empire for revenue recognition. And so you want to create platforms that are specifically focused on high-end residual revenue. Okay, so residual, continuation. So again, this is where a platform like Tumblr is great. You don't have to really focus on building a following or doing so much social media engagement from, I guess the best way I can say it, from a appreciation or validation validation, type of standpoint, but you're allowing your platforms to serve as what I call welcome centers, or self-serving product suites. These can also be lead-in funnels to your higher level offers. So when you set up various revenue success stations, I guess, yeah, I can call it that, you're going to start profiting, on a higher level. Of course, within the revenue recognition, it is great to receive recognition and validation, praise, testimonials. So I'm never saying don't go for that. Just you need to basically have the intention that you can have both. And most times entrepreneurs think that they are setting up, to have both, but ultimately they're actually really just setting up to get followers and praise and likes and all these different things that just don't really convert into the higher intention for the revenue factor, at least not consistently. And you want it to be consistent for the residual. And on Tumblr, you definitely can set the platform up where you can grow followers and do interactions. But when you're leveraging 3 to 5, of those, and especially if you have other social media platforms, then the goal would not be to busy yourself with having to address so much. Some people just need to find specific platforms of yours, and then the products and whatever the offering is or the attention for that, it's there, and people can partake of that, and that's revenue recognition because they have paid you, they've praised you through the pay, they have given you feedback that can feed you back. It's ultimately divine right exchange is what I call it. So I'm going to move right into number 3. Number 3 is create a multimedia domino multiplicity marketing effect. All right. So you want to operate from a higher level of awareness and consciousness as you start setting up your multimedia or multiplicity marketing agenda. So you want to think about playing a game of dominoes as you start to multiply your brand and your empire expression over the various platforms that you set up, in addition to also the social media mediums that you will be leveraging for your marketing communications. So even though each platform might represent a core aspect of your brand and your empire, but you still want them to eventually sync up to segue into your other expressions as options to consider. So basically, when they land on one platform, it should create the domino effect where they want to be a part of other formats of your experience. So an example of that is if one of your or some of your followers don't have LinkedIn accounts, but they see you on Facebook showing up a certain way, and then every now and again you invite them to follow you on LinkedIn or another platform because you offer this type of element. So though you're not consistently doing the same thing that you're doing on the other platforms, but every now and again, as I mentioned, give a little invitation to what's going on another dimension or another level of what you offer. And then that may cause them to start using, that particular platform because they want to get, the updates. So even if they're just getting the accounts, or even if they have the accounts and then they start using the accounts again, they are just really using it just based, on you. And I've had this happen to me over the years with some of my more dominating empires, where it's, we had people that would send testimonies in and say, we were done with Facebook. The only reason why we stayed on Facebook is because of this empire here, and to be in touch and to be connected. Otherwise, they're like, we don't even use it. But because this is where you're doing this here, then we're here, based on that. So you want to be able to, to create that. So those are just three aspects that I wanted to be able to share, just in terms of being able to create this dimensional, in a sense, level for you to ultimately start being able to dominate, in the multimedia space, leveraging multiplicity-preneurship. So, Joseph, I know I've said quite a bit here. I would certainly love to hear your thoughts around, what's been shared.
Well, I just want to say those were not just three. Those were three heavyweight items that could be put into place to maximize your business and your growth and your sharing and showcasing, creating, and getting recognition for what you do. That is a magnificent blueprint that you just outlined in
Oh,
just three basic steps
yeah.
that people can begin to utilize to make their business stand out far above those that are presented by their contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yes.
something that's needed in the marketplace right now. And looking at the third one, the domino effect,
Mm-hmm.
that one is important because, well, they're all important, but I'm keying in on
Mm-hmm.
this domino effect because once you set it up the correct way one time,
Yes.
you can just push the domino, that first
Yes.
domino, and
Right.
all the rest of them would just fall in line.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
That's the
that's the
goal.
that's
Mm-hmm.
the goal. And that's very
Yeah.
well outlined the way that you did that and
Oh,
designed
thank
that.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just, speaking from my obviously professional experience, is that, yeah, when you set things up correctly, and then just as you stated, you can set it up one time, and once people start syncing up with that core agenda, and yeah, then it will have a domino effect. And Joseph, you've seen um, demonstrations of mine, even with different platforms, with publications, and even on Tumblr, is that, one will ultimately lead to another, or there'll be multiple publications for a specific focus, but different dimensions or different offerings of that particular concept. And when people actually land on that, they're like, well, I have to have it all. And then, even if they don't get it all at that time, then what happens is, because they'll be reminded, and how they're reminded is that within the publications, there's the link to for more related resources that's going to take them back to the platform or some other related platform. So there's so many different ways to create this effect, but these are at least some foundational aspects to get started, and to at least be able to disrupt the mindsets, of others, which is something more in the part two of this particular training. I'll talk more, about the mindset, aspect. So, and I'm going to bring you back, Joseph, to share before we close out. And I thank you, because keying in on the number three is it is critical. Like you said, all of them are important for sure, but the number three is vital, because it is what ultimately creates the domino, um, effect. And if you're going to dominate, you got to have the domino effect going on. So, what I would like to share is that Joseph and I have done a series that is the Multiplicity-preneur Wow Factor, and it was hosted on one of my Empire platforms, the Wow Seat Media. So one of those platforms it was facilitated on. So we talked about level up your wow factor with multiplicity entrepreneurship, and then we discussed brand building with multiplicity entrepreneurship, levels up your wow factor. And then we talked about level up your wow factor with multidimensional empire branding. And then also level up your wow factor with conscious multiplicity branding and marketing. And then we closed out that particular series with creating media domination with the multiplicity-preneur revenue wow factor. And so, even within that particular segment of the series that we did, it hits on the multiplicity revenue factor in a different way than what we've talked about today. There are some of the concepts that are shared, but the way that they're communicated and displayed or articulated, so to speak, is on a different level as well. So you'll benefit highly from being able to listen to this series, but for the domination aspect, the creating media domination with the multiplicity-preneur revenue factor is one you definitely want to key in on. So a few resources that we want to provide for you are publications, and some of which Joseph and I have co-authored, together. And so one is that I've done is the Multiplicity Revenue Factor Made Easy, and it is all about the basics of repositioning your empire for revenue recognition as a multiplicity entrepreneur, and it's a journal planner. And as we've been talking about the domination effect and the mentioning of the revenue recognition, it's very important to have this be a part of your up-leveling reservoir in your library. And then Joseph has a publication which I had the privilege of co-authoring with him as well, and it is Brand Building with Multiplicity Entrepreneurship Made Easy: How to Create Multiple Streams of Revenue with Multifaceted Branding. So you want to be able to build your structures right, and of course today we've been sharing, some of those aspects, but you can have these resources right at your grasp to be able to do the work in the building yourself. So also, as I mentioned a little bit about the domino effect with the marketing, and I talked about how you have to have this higher level of awareness, a higher state of consciousness. So one of my, publications, actually there are two that deal with the conscious multiplicity. One is the Multiplicity Branding Factor for New Era Entrepreneurs. It is a basic introduction to multifaceted branding for next level business success. It's an action planner, and Joseph contributed the outstanding forward to that publication. The next one is the Conscious Multiplicity Marketing Factor Made Easy, and it's an intentional multi-level marketing journal planner for multiplicity entrepreneurial success. And then one more resource I want to offer, because this right here is critical, and Joseph and I recently done a conversational training on this aspect. But this particular publication is called The Main Thing, and it's an intentional task management planner for multiplicity entrepreneurs. And so one of the things that I love to do to create an experience for others is that I leave no stone unturned. You come away with a thorough experience of what you need to be focused on during a certain time to build effectively. So there's a lot that's being given here so that you can have this cornucopia of your continued elevation and evolution through this process, because it is one. And so we've laid the foundations with these three premises for you to focus on, but we didn't just give you some tips and ideas. We have what you need before you to be able to take this to the next level, and then you can sync up with us in the next level that we'll be delivering. So Joseph, I know that I've shared quite a bit there as well, but I would certainly, before we wrap up, would love some final thoughts from you as we conclude.
Well, the final thoughts would be everything is very well laid out for business owners to begin to dominate their industry, and not just show up in their industry, but really take charge, take dominion, and
Yes.
take control of their industry with their products and their offerings and their presentations, so that their customers and clients can begin to receive the results that they would want to receive. This whole process is created for business owners to really begin to not just exist in the marketplace, but
Yes,
thrive in the
yes,
marketplace
yes.
in a time where other business owners are falling by the wayside
Mm,
and being consumed by a lot of the things that's taking place in our world today. This is something that business owners can look at and really begin to maximize
yes.
so that they have substantial leverage moving
Mm,
forward in the marketplace by establishing their empires in the right way. This
yes.
is not just, you know, some run of the mill information or something that you can just Google. This is, although they're
Right.
very simple steps, there are depths and levels to these steps that
Yeah.
can take you from where you are right now to the media and business domination that you seek.
Mm,
So
mhm,
I just encourage you to take advantage of this while it is yet available,
mm.
because we don't know what the future holds in terms of what may or may not be available moving forward, but it is available now.
That's
So
right.
definitely take advantage of it.
Oh, wonderful. Joseph, yes, that everything you said right there, that within itself is just a segment alone um, of emphasizing the importance and yes, the availability, and also people, being very much aware, because without that awareness of what's actually happening, people can't align themselves accordingly because they don't have the perception, or they aren't aware of different things, and so they are looking for what you mentioned, kind of the traditional stuff. And this is not something, right, that you're going to just Google and find this type of information. This will only be found within the experience that I've been creating well over a decade, and now being able to bring it more illuminate in the marketplace in a lot of different levels. And so, as Joseph mentioned, that simplistic concepts for sure, but they are different levels of it that have to be continuously unpacked because it has an evolving perspective. And that's where the shift is in business, in the marketplace, and entrepreneurship. And this is not, will be, not possibly one of, no, this is the new norm of the way things are going to be moving forward. And so, if you don't make this concept the chief cornerstone of your foundation of what you're building, rest assure you, all other ground will be certainly sinking sand. And you don't want to go out that way when there actually is not just provision, but there are examples and demonstrations here before you to show you how it's done and how you can do it in your own authenticity. So, Joseph, as always, thank you for being a great trigger for me to spring forth on to talk about more around this topic.
Oh, you don't need triggers. You're already right on it, right on it.
Or you fan the flames, if that is the analogy to you. So I'm appreciative, of you, and grateful for the work that we do together, in this area, and bringing it forth to others. So thank you so much for being here with me today.
It's an absolute honor every time and even more today.
Oh, thank you. The feeling is mutual. All right. So there's going to be information in the description box for the segments that I talked about, and also the publications, and more about how you can learn about the works that Joseph, and I do. Listen, it's time. It is time to create this multimedia domination effect, leveraging a multiplicity-preneurship so that you can make the greater impact and income to support your now and your next levels, because your next levels are going to require a different um, aspect of resources and resourcefulness. So you need to be grounding this now. And we certainly look forward to bringing you more trainings of this nature in the near future.